What is going on, everyone? It's your guy, Cole Jackson, back here on Two Guys Watching Football, and we are going to be diving into the question, looking at the key matchups. How can Lamar Jackson and the supporting offense take down the Cincinnati Bengals? Obviously, a huge game coming up. The Ravens, truthfully, should be 4-0 right now, but it doesn't matter. They're 2-2 after multiple blown leads, and we're going into a tough game against the Cincinnati Bengals, a team that had their way with Baltimore last year. Let's be real. Whether starters or no starters, game one, game two, both were rough. And I think what we're learning about this defense is the offense has to keep pace. They're going to have to put up points to win. We know this Bengals team can score. So let's get into it. Let's see who the key matchups are in this one. And we are starting with, yes, from my understanding, Ronnie Stanley will be starting at left tackle in this game. It will be the return of Ronnie Stanley. And he has a tough matchup in his first game back. You'll see pretty much exclusively Trey Hendrickson. So he's played 207 snaps on the D-line this year. 200 of them have been as the right outside linebacker standing up or as the outside right end, so hand in the dirt. So he will be aligning over the left tackle, which will be Ronnie Stanley from my understanding. And Hendrickson had his way with Alejandro Villanueva. That's why I picked this picture in the preview. He had 15 pressures in 2 games against Alejandro Villanueva last year. He wreaked havoc against the Ravens. It was brutal. And he's starting to heat up himself. In the last 2 weeks, he has 14 pressures and 3 sacks. So, he's a guy that can be a difference maker as a pass rusher. And it is a tough draw for Ronnie Stanley in his first game back, but it looks like it'll be Ronnie, and it looks like it's going to be our best left tackle that we can put out there taking on one of the top pass rushers in the game right now. He's been a top guy getting after the quarterback, whether it was with the Saints or with the Bengals. So it's going to be a tough matchup, but I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to get into Ronnie Stanley being back. Moving on. This one is a huge one, and I say that because Logan Wilson is a guy that he just really intrigues me. He's become that true Mike linebacker for the Cincinnati Bengals. He's on the field nonstop, whether they go into dime. He's staying in as the Mike. He's tied for the most snaps on the defense with starting safety Von Bell. And what intrigues me about Wilson is one of the biggest areas of weakness that he had was his tackling. He had a career 11% missed tackle percentage in his first 2 seasons, which is quite high. I think he missed 16 tackles in 1 season. But through 4 games this year, he's only missed 1, and that brings his rate down to 3.6%. So that's a drastic improvement. And it's going to be that tackling against JK Dobbins. He's going to be coming downhill on him in the run game. He's going to likely be covering him out of the backfield in the pass game, if not Akeem Gator-Davis. But I personally think we'll see a lot of Logan Wilson with J.K. Dobbins, while Davis matches up with one of the other tight ends, and you'll probably see more of a slot corner matching up with Mark Andrews. So J.K. Dobbins is finally getting his feet under him. He had 41 yards in his score last week on the ground and the air. He had another 22 yards in his touchdown. So, but really what stood out to me watching J.K. Dobbins last week was just his ability to miss or to force missed tackles. So he forced 4 in the game alone and was averaging 2.35 yards after contact through 2 games. So to give you guys a comparison, Mike Davis and Kenyon Drake through 4 weeks combined to force just 1 missed tackle. Even Justice Hill, who has been the most impressive of the backup, he only has 3 in 4 weeks. So, I mean, that just shows the impact that a J.K. Dobbins can do in terms of forcing missed tackles, getting out in space, getting extra yards after contact. To Justice Hill's credit, because I do think he factors into this conversation too, he is sporting a very healthy 3.74 yards after contact, mostly due to his elusiveness. So I just really like the way Dobbins and Hill complement each other, and I expect those two to be battling against Logan Wilson, both on the ground and in the air, a lot in this game. And that's primarily because I think this one is a key matchup because Mark Andrews with Rashad Bateman out is going to be most likely force-fed targets. We're going to probably be looking at, I would say, in the 10 to 12 target range. He's going to be the go-to. in the pass game. And this year, Mark Andrews has been in the slot 66.7% of the time. The Ravens have been using a ton of bunch formations, which is bringing outside corners down. The typical bunch that has had success has been Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, and Devin Duvernay. So that brings that outside corner down, matching up with Duvernay or dropping off in zone. And then you get Mark Andrews against slot corners a little bit more frequently than safeties and linebackers. And teams are probably going to start to hesitate because Mark Andrews is doing fantastic work against those positions. They're really the only guys that have slowed him down is a guy like Sauce Gardner in week 1 when he was coming down into the slot from his outside position and matching up with Andrews. He had a pretty good matchup with him. So I think that's why you'll see Mike Hilton match up on him. He did it a ton when he was with the Steelers before he joined the Bengals. One thing that stood out to me last week, the Bills used a ton of combo coverages. They played mostly nickel formation, and they were using Edmonds and Matt Milano both in hook zone coverage, kind of double teaming Mark Andrews, passing off the coverages. I don't think, as good as Logan Wilson is, and this is no disrespect to Wilson, I just don't think he's going to be able to do the same thing that a guy like Matt Milano did last week. Milano is just on a different level in terms of pass coverage. So I really do expect to see a ton of Mike Hilton matching up with Mark Andrews when he's coming out of the slot. And I think that's an area where the Ravens can create a little bit of an advantage to themselves. So those are really the 3 matchups that I see. Obviously, I mean, I could do Lamar Jackson every week, but we know the deal there. We've seen Lamar Jackson play so well this year. Struggled a little bit last week, but it's really up to his supporting cast around him, especially with Rashad Bateman likely missing this game and maybe missing the next few weeks. Guys around him need to step up. You need Duvernay making plays. You need Andrews making plays. You need Dobbins getting it done on the ground. And of course, we need his offensive line, including the return of Ronnie Stanley protecting him. If you guys are looking forward to this game, hit that like button and subscribe. If you're new here, be good to yourselves, be good to each other. Peace out, everyone.